Hello. Apologies for the wet hair. I don't care to use a hair dryer or any more appliances than I have to, so it is what it is. Um, I have a journal for you from, when was it? 10/31, the second one of that Halloween day, called Revealing Energy Strategies, ET or ED Implants. Conscious thought forms, and that's extraterrestrial or extra dimensional. So, okay, what is inside to be known? After coming off of 3 really tough, heavy days emotionally, I was ready to wake up to something different today, and it finally broke, whatever it was. I really don't know yet, just hints so far. But it really doesn't matter. What difference does it make? It just is what it is, and my knowing changes nothing of that. So, what's different today? I woke up more conscious, for one thing. By that, I mean more conscious of and as my higher self. Well, just a fuller awareness somehow. I felt good and solid. One thing's for sure, on the inner awareness, I know just what is going on, and I'm a part of that. Though I may not have much in the way of conscious awareness of this stuff, yet I recognize that I really do know, and it gives me peace. I felt it this morning. I know. So I take comfort in that. And no, that doesn't mean I go probing into that knowing, trying to pick the lock to know more than I know consciously. What I've learned is that it will come when the time is right for it. That works for me. Why hassle myself over something I probably can't do anything about anyway? Honestly, the way we drive ourselves nuts over inconsequentials is amazing. I did an upload about 3 o'clock this morning. I don't even remember which one. I have another one or several journals waiting to be recorded, too. I'm getting ahead of my ability to upload them all. Interesting. It's fun, though, to have the inspiration flowing like this. I almost said once again, but I hesitate to say that. These days are not like the past, so it's better not to bring the past into them. And that will just provide limits, unnecessary ones. I'd rather stay fully open to what is now. I think I'll do another upload today anyway, a journal about the continuance of the Mayan calendar. I'm actually wondering if some of the heaviness I've been dealing with since the 28th when it started can be related to that. By this, I mean the way each wave or cycle crams just as much living into a period 20 times more compressed. That intensification may well be continuing. How do we know? Anyway, I'll also try to get this journal up and out there just in case more of you experienced a similar heaviness in the last few days. We can compare notes. So very often, endlessly, I find that it's just not personal like I once thought it was. These things have us looking into our personal lives for answers when often they're really much broader than that. And it helps to know this. I've been listening to David Icke lately. I'd like to suggest that for those of you who cast him overboard maybe long ago, do give him a chance. Look at some of his most recent work, the last 3 to 5 years. This man has single-handedly managed to bring a great deal of research and information before the world audience. He may not be right on everything. Are you? Am I? I don't think so. But so much of what he brings is priceless, and his heart is surely in the right place. Then, too, he's paid a terrible price for the message he carries. Come on. I don't know of anyone ridiculed more widely than David. worldwide. Yet he's been faithful throughout. You've got to give him that. It's only fair. He's got the warrior spirit and the real love for the truth. And that's what he seeks out. So don't slam him for whatever errors you find. Let's have a much more civil discourse about things, okay? You see, with our judgment and anger over such things, we contribute to war. Did you ever think of that? If everyone was peaceful and mature in their interactions, war would be no more on the planet. It wouldn't have any energy to feed on. Did you know that you and I and everyone create the energy for war? We all play a part in that, and you will more easily see this if you start thinking of things as a whole, as the one. The way we look at life really controls more than we know. And yes, we are controlled by it as well, or we can be. Now that we're waking up, those trying to manipulate and control us, desiring business as usual, are having a heck of a hard time of it though. And let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate our stubborn, calm refusal to go along with their program as before. We're starting to write our own ticket, our own script for the part we play, and I say hooray. Be sure to take time each and every day to enjoy. We're putting enjoyment back into our life. Now, I guess I have something a wee bit dark to share with you, so buckle up. Be sure to drop down into heart or whatever you do to center. I said we provide the energy that goes into war. I have also said, and of course I'm not the only one saying it, that the dark aliens, many fourth dimensional ones, feed on our negative energy. So let's take a closer look at how that works, shall we? You see, our spiritual vision and other senses are in process of awakening with us. We've all had ESP unawares all along, but soon we won't be able to ignore it as we have been anymore. These senses are both intensifying and sharpening. Whether this is a part of our DNA being restored or healed or not, I don't know. It doesn't really matter, does it? This is happening one way or another. So, how do you think it would work, this mining of our energies, this harvesting? What do you think that looks like? Had you given it a thought? You don't really need to, mind you. It's not that important. I'll say that what's important is for each one of us to live with full integrity, to cast off fear and begin living from our core, from our center, from heart, whatever that means for each one. That's what counts. So, what follows is not at all important. I'll tell you why I share it though. It's because people will shortly begin seeing things. The inner sight will come back online, and they may be frightened by what they see, having no idea of what's going on. So, in this case, a little knowledge could be a good thing. Fear is the enemy. If you have to have an enemy, folks, that's it. It's the most important thing to be on the lookout for and to arrest before it takes long-term hold of you. Now, I'm going to step out and say that's unless you're doing a meditation where you're going to sit with your fear and just let it magnify and amplify and help it to get just as big as it possibly can. That's a meditation that can be really useful in conquering fear. So aside from that, arrest it before it takes a hold on you. Fear is the main tool of the dark side, and it's how they exert their control. And it only works because we're not yet fully aware of the awesome majesty that we are. We've been duped, drugged, manipulated, and lied to endlessly, programmed. Well, they may think they have us right where they want us, but All we have to do is turn around and walk away. Got a silly message from my word processor though. All right, so I apologize. Somehow it went searching for something and it told me that it had searched the document. And did I want to continue searching? Okay, so I'm getting there. This is a long one. This one is 8 pages long. Okay, so fear is the enemy. All right. Okay. All we have to do is turn around and walk away. Just refuse to play. It is really, honestly, and truly just that simple. Don't join in their game. Don't let the mind tempt you in, because that's how it's done, through our mind. They paint boogeymen that threaten and cause us to fear if we choose to remain vulnerable to that. Perhaps our biggest step out of the noose is just to step back from the play, to realize we are not the body, not the mind. Instead, we are consciousness. We are great spiritual beings as well. There is literally nothing they can throw at us that will even leave a mark, even touch us, once you truly know who and what you are. Do ponder that. If you don't know it for yourself yet, then my knowing won't do it for you. You can still be made to fear. So you've got to make this knowing your very own, your own personal experience. And once you do, no more can they get to you with the same old tired manipulation ploys. You become quite literally immune. Did you know that there are those who refuse to believe or even listen to David Icke simply because they believe someone telling such truths as he shares should already be dead by now? They believe that the dark force, the Illuminati, or whomever would have already taken him out. So, in their mind, they're saying he must be with them. Let's look at that. Do see how they have given their power away to the dark side there. They attribute such great, masterful power and control to them, and so little to anyone else. They have thus castrated themselves, all without even knowing it. Yeah, it happens like that, under the radar. Well, not anymore. The reality is that once you raise your vibration beyond a certain level, and at this high level, there is no way you can get jerked around and pulled into the fray by these guys. You can't be touched. Why not? Just consider, it's a basic matter of frequencies. The lower frequencies cannot have an effect on anything outside their frequency band or range. If you are above that and stay there, you are immune to anything they do. Well, largely immune. I'm sure he deals with numerous irritations and hassles created by the dark side, the dark system overall. But his life is in no danger. He has proven that. Yet, even this is twisted and used against him. Do you see how twisted the dark side is? They can manipulate any truth into something dark, but only if we play along. And the beauty of this is we don't even have to fight them to win, or don't have to run away and hide. We can negate their power very effectively just by raising our own vibration, which we do when we live with integrity, decency, and honor. These things vibrate too high for the dark ones to reach. Okay, boy, this one is going all over the place. Maybe that's just to get you primed and ready to deal with something a little closer to home, your own body, mind, and aura or energy force field. Most of us have heard of implants, right? These can be physical, but they are usually higher vibrating, so they are not visible to the physical sight. Now, this won't be news to some, maybe to many of you, but we all have implants on board, many of them. They are inserted for a wide range of reasons, and not by the good guys either. So if some ET is asking your permission to place an implant, my suggestion is to say, hell no. Now again, I could always be wrong. You've got to follow your own inner guidance. Is this too dark for you? Would you rather not hear about it? Well, what about the time not too far ahead when you start seeing these things in people, in their auras and so on? Would you rather go into that blind? That right there is the whole reason I share this. I believe that if you ask almost any healer, they can tell you about coming up against these things in their work. Okay, so are you getting used to this idea yet? I know it's hard when it's invasive like this, something so close to you that it's right there with you. Quite an intrusion on your privacy, isn't it? Well, look at it this way, perhaps. You were living in a false peace, a false reality, if you weren't aware of these things. They do exist. We don't need to go into the beings, making them into boogeymen that place them there. Some are carried along in your genetic line, just like anything else. Remember, the science of many of these races is light years beyond anything we've even yet imagined, much less created. So don't be surprised at what can be done. Let's get rid of limitations and restrictions in our thinking caused by old, long-held beliefs. Anything is possible. Now, the one thing that I hesitate to touch on, but I will, is that there are more than just these mechanical sort of implants that we carry around. Energy itself is sentient. It has an awareness, a consciousness, and thought creates. So does emotion. So if you have a particular thought, energy coalesces around that, creating a thought form, often looking like a floating, translucent blob. Well, the more often you feed this thought, cycling it around and around in the hamster wheel of the mind, the more energy coalesces around it. It begins to take shape. And do this often and long enough, and you will create something that eventually becomes self-conscious in some basic way. Now, add to this the reality that like attracts like, and you can begin to see how the thought form you create has an energy signature. Well, it broadcasts or radiates that quite naturally. You broadcast and radiate your overall energy signature as well. Everything does. Well, as you walk through your daily routine, mingling and interacting with others, whether in person or online, you exchange energy with them. Your little thought form is radiating away there, and it attracts others just like it, so that it can grow at a pretty fast pace. Simply, it gets larger, more powerful, and more sentient as it grows. Now, even though this is other people's energy coming over to join with yours, so that you do have foreign energy on board, chances are you won't even notice. A couple of reasons for this are, first, that their energy vibrates just like your own in this case, like your thought form. Also, we haven't been made aware, much less trained in how to handle our own energy force field. Basic energy etiquette and maintenance are nowhere in our schooling. And worse yet, we were probably taught that there's no such thing as an aura or energy extending out around the physical body. Now that current science has documented and demonstrated this reality, there's at least a magnetic force field we're aware of. It will probably make its way into the textbooks, so maybe in another 50 or 100 years. Don't hold your breath. One of the biggest ways we're manipulated is just like this, by keeping basic information about reality from us, or teaching us the opposite is the case. You can see how, if you know literally nothing about something, you won't be aware when that something is being used against you or even for you. You'll simply be blind to the whole operation on that level of form. Well, okay, now that you're more aware of what's going on, you're not so easily led anymore. And that's just for starters, too. Now that you're hearing this information, what will happen is that whatever is in your subconscious or unconscious mind of the programming and belief systems you hold will come roaring up to argue with it. Whenever we become aware of something new, everything that disagrees with it comes to the fore. And this is not at all a bad thing. It's just how the organism operates. We can use it to our advantage as well by simply being aware. If we take seriously the adage, watch and observe, then we will be looking when this occurs and we'll catch what's going on. So just watch. The idea is to choose our beliefs consciously instead of having them forced upon us as they were in our youth. Thus, as each belief comes to the surface, it can be evaluated and looked at for its usefulness. Is it something you want to continue with, or something you'd rather lose? So you make the choice. The net result will be that you have less and less old programming and stale beliefs acting as blinders on your vision of reality. As a result, you'll naturally see much more of what's going on around you. We do this by the simple choices we make regarding the thoughts that come up. Yes and no. Pretty simple, yet ultimately powerful. And if you pursue this, you'll surely find out. Okay, so we have both passive implants and active thought form type things in our force field, placed anywhere in body, mind, emotional being, etheric body, or envelope we walk around in. Much easier referred to as the aura. Now, this may be enough for right now. I don't want to freak anyone out. It's a lot to take in, considering the rotten education we've all been put through and the beliefs that most now hold. There is more, of course, there always is, but it doesn't matter right now. What matters is handling the information you've got right here and handling it well. Remember, this is nothing new. I didn't invent or create any of these things. They already existed before you ever read this. It's just what is. The fact that you're just now being made aware of it can be mighty uncomfortable, but in reality, nothing has changed. Take comfort in that. Well, why not? Don't force things on yourself. Be kind to you. And finally, remember that fear is the one thing you do not need to accept, the major thing. It's not real. The real you cannot be touched by anything in this or the next world. Your consciousness, you are eternal. Stand in that. Stick to heart. There is literally not one speck or shred of fear in there. And that is you, too. That is your contact point with your own inner or higher self. What we fear, we hand over our power to. And that's how fear works. We bow before the thing we fear, letting it control us. Now, you may have to deal with some fears that the body or the mind has over this, but just watch them. Realize that's not you. Those are thoughts, and stand in heart. If you'll just keep centering down, you'll be amazed at the calm peace that you find. If you find yourself too bothered by this, then journal that. Write it down. Do your self-inquiry that way, and you may be surprised by what you find. Stay out of the solar plexus area, center and heart. There is wisdom to be found in the gut, in the solar plexus, but not just now. Now is the time for sticking to heart. Your wisdom lies there. Seek and find.